Hey, what's up? So, some people on my Instagram asked me to create a tutorial on this look, this artwork I created in Cinema 4D. It's basically just a reflective bubble with a person in the bubble, and I also added some chains, as you can see when it's rendering right here. That's basically what I did, and I'm gonna show you in this tutorial how I did it. Let's go. So first off, let's talk about what plugins and software we need to create this artwork. The first thing you need is obviously Cinema 4D. Then you need a plugin called Octane. For the bubble formation, it's optional to use the TFMSTYLE Rock FM plugin. It's basically just a deformer for a sphere object. You don't need that, but I recommend it because it's pretty easy to create abstract shapes with it and you're just faster in general. Then we're gonna need DAZ 3D to create the human model that's going inside the object. And last but not least, we need Photoshop to touch up some parts we don't like about the render and pretty much just make the colors pop a little bit more. So the first thing we are going to do is create the bubble. I'm going to go into my content browser and go into the main folder of the TFMSTYLE Rock FM plugin. I'm going to go into the preset. No, that was wrong. I'm going into the library, of course, and then presets. Here you can see some examples and presets of what our project could look like. Of course, without the glass texture, it looks just like a rock. But I imported an example and I'm just going to play around with the seed a little bit down here until I can find something that I like. We can also drag this across, or we can just use the mouse wheel and just play around until you find something that you're happy with. So now I have the basic look of the bubble I wanted. We're gonna tweak that around a little bit when we get into the textures we have to use. So the next thing we're going to do is import the textures we need. Of course, I provided a download link in the description of this video to download those textures. And now I'm going to import them. So I imported these textures. They are Octane only. They don't work if you don't use Octane. So gotta have that. Now we're going to insert the glass texture into our bubble object and take a first look at it. So this is what it looks like right now. I'm going to change the pixel settings right here. So we have a square image and just we're gonna tweak a little bit around with the settings first on the bubble itself, although I don't think we have to do that too much. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to change this setting right here to path tracing. Let's look at that. Okay, now it's disappearing completely. Okay, so we're gonna use direct lighting. Sometimes you just have to switch between some settings to find the effect you want. I'm going to increase the glossy depth to 5. Looks about right. And now I'm going to create an HDRI environment and add a texture onto that. This texture is also in the description of this video, so you can download that. I created the texture in Photoshop. You can pretty much do that yourself also, but I think this looks pretty good for this effect, and if you want to create the exact image I do, you're gonna have to use that. Okay, change to path tracing, my bad. So we're gonna check this alpha channel box and uncheck keep environment. And now it's kind of starting to look like something we want to achieve here. I'm just gonna play around with those settings till I find a position of the HDRI that helps me reflect the colors perfectly in this bubble setup. I'm going to make this a little bit more smooth, and then we can move on from that. So this is looking much smoother. If you want to create the exact image I did, you can just copy those settings. Although I think it's way cooler if you do your own thing. I mean, the possibilities are endless with that setup, with this plugin, and just play around with it, have fun. Yeah, I pretty much like the bubble, how it looks right now. So we can insert a model into here. I'm going to import something I already downloaded. You can use DAZ 3D to import something, create something yourself. There are a lot of presets already in DAZ 3D. So yeah, do that, export it to a .obj file, and you can import it to Cinema 4D. So I imported a model of a woman I want to use for this. We're just gonna check if everything's okay. I don't think. Let's just create a camera right here so we don't lose our camera setting. Yeah, something is kind of, okay. Going to have to delete that. And now we basically have the model we need. Just gonna remove the texture on this object. So now we're going to use our subsurface scattering. And with the subsurface scattering texture applied, you can already see it looks kind of different. You have some reflective parts and some darker parts on the object. We're just gonna drag it into here. And let's just look what happens. There's a lot of playing around with this effect. You just gotta have to move everything around and find something that you're happy with. It's pretty exciting because every time you do this, you get something different. There is also another method you can use with this texture I also provided. This creates this kind of rainbow texture on the object. I think this is pretty cool too. So I think we could use that. And just by moving around the model you imported, you can see how distorted it is inside this bubble. You can just make it go more to the front or to the sides. The more you move the model to the back, the more distorted it will be in the end. So I think we're gonna have to move the bubble. The distortion is a bit intense for my taste, so let's just move that around until we get more clarity on the model of this woman we are using in this artwork. So now if we want some more darker parts in here, we can play around with those Octane settings. Just go down with the specular depth and you can see it's getting darker and darker. I think I used maybe about 4 or 3. Let's maybe use 3 and play around with the light power of the HDRI. And let's just move the bubble a little bit more. This is pretty cool. Let's work with that. Let's maybe take it up to 4. Yeah. I think we can also move the bubble to the side. So, we got the bubble, we got the model inside this bubble, and now we are pretty much just testing out what colors we want, how we want the reflection to work. There's no right or wrong with this kind of method of creating art. Just go at it and test things out pretty much. We could go back into the rock formation module and whoop, don't use the seed. I like that seed. Go back. And we are going to play around with the scale of things. Or maybe, yeah, let's tweak that scale a little. So, if you can see, there are more darker parts appearing now because we just tweaked around the settings and this is looking a lot more interesting than before. Yeah, so I think this is pretty sick. And now we're going to add even more reflection. We are going to import a chain model and place it inside the bubble to create more darker parts and this kind of, you know, rainbow effect with some black in it. Yeah, let's do that. So I got my chain right here and now I'm going to remove this spline. I don't like that. We are going to use a circle spline. Click on the spline wrap and drag and drop the circle into the spline. Now you're going to see there's some, I don't know, it's very crowded over here, so we gotta change the count until it looks realistic. Let's maybe take 31.5. Okay, no, we can only take 32 or 31. So let's look at this value right here. Yeah, let's tweak that down to 31 and now we pretty much got a perfect chain. We can still change the radius of the chain right here in this circle. Just turn the radius down until you're happy. I think this is pretty good. So now I'm going to create a new object, current state to object. Right here we got the chain. I'm going to copy that and go into our project and paste it. And now we gotta have to align the chain in a way we like it. I like to use this scale right here to turn down the size of it, because sometimes if you use this method it kind of deforms the object. I don't think it's happening right now, but I recommend using this technique with the scale right here. So I'm going to align it and then we'll move on from that. Yeah, I think this is very cool. We can also use the subsurface scattering material on this chain to make it appear black more, or you can just use the white version. I like both pretty much. In the original image, I think I used the black look on this chain. Yeah, I think we're going to use that. I'm going to copy the chain and play around a little more until I'm happy with what I got. Now the image pretty much looks like that. Let's just tweak around again with those settings. I like to just tweak them as I go along and if the colors are getting too intense for my taste, I'm just playing with those settings until I'm happy again. I think, yeah, let's set that to 5 and that to 4. That's pretty cool. It's getting better and better. So now we can go into this abstract kind of rainbow texture and again tweak some settings to make this model brighter so you can see more detail. I pretty much just played around with the film index. I also tried adding more index, but you can't go higher than 8. But that's fine. It still looks pretty sick. We're just gonna play around with the positioning a little bit more. Now that I'm happy with the positioning and the ratio from bubble to model inside the bubble, I am going to make the bubble smoother now because there's a lot happening around this area and it's pretty hard to see her right now. So we're gonna tweak the settings inside the Rock FM module. The hardest thing about creating those types of images is to still have some clarity left to the image, but also make it very colorful. It's not that easy, but I think it's a lot of fun. Let's just change her color right here. And yeah, I think I like that a little better. So this is our final image inside of Cinema 4D. Now we're going to render it and I'll see you back in Photoshop. Now that we're loaded into Photoshop, we can tweak this area. I think we can just drag this out. Yeah, maybe let's do that first. I'm going to copy what I have right here and I'm going to rasterize it. Sorry, I'm running the German version of Photoshop, but I think you can pretty much understand what I'm doing if you have a basic understanding of Photoshop itself. Yeah, I'm going to liquefy this. Make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's use around 1000. Just shape it in a way you like. And if you're happy with the results, you can just click OK. And there we have a before and after. We have pretty much a circle shape right now. I'm going to copy this again. By just pressing Ctrl J, or you can drag this into here to copy it. Pretty much almost always using shortcuts. So I'm going to go into the camera raw filter and just tweak the settings until you like what you got. Yeah, so I just added a little bit of saturation. It's more vibrant right now. You can see that if I switch back and forth. Yeah, so now we're trying to separate this model of a woman from the background more, and I think we can do that with a mask. We're first going into these curves. I don't know what they're called in English, but I think it's just called curves. Just make it a little darker. Click OK. Then I'm going to create a mask. So now let's adjust the brush size and get started. Now we can separate the woman from the background. Just you can kind of see her better, because if you're posting this image to Instagram, for instance, you're gonna see it on a phone, maybe around this big, and you still kind of have to see what's happening, because if everything is just a colorful mess, you kind of waste the opportunity to show this beautiful face. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you want to, you can also change the background color to white maybe, I don't know, or some type of gray. A dark blue is also something I use pretty often. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm keeping the black background. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, so now we're pretty much done. We can export this image and upload it to Instagram and show the world the beautiful bubble we've created in Cinema 4D. Yeah, I hope you like this tutorial. Let me know in the comments. And if you like this artwork, you can just head over to my Instagram page. Here you can see some images I did in the last few weeks. But you can also head into the description of this video and find my Instagram right there. Bye!